One morning in late July, Dave and I were walking in the Annex neighborhood when he took me over to see something. A huge rock in the middle of the road that had recently been uncovered during a construction project. The granite boulder was said to be about 1.5 billion years old. It had appeared unexpectedly in this particular location, having somehow moved from its home many kilometers north of here, picked up and carried on an ancient glacier. The boulder was about the size of a very small car. We immediately wanted to touch it, as did another woman who came along after us, saying that she'd come all the way from Scarborough. I thought I was the only crazy person, she said. Well, soon a family of 4 came along and offered to take our picture with the rock. And then we took their picture, and then a man in a Blue Jays cap came along, apparently live streaming the entire experience with commentary in Spanish. It was an interesting juxtaposition. A handful of humans who by some accounts are now at risk of becoming extinct, meeting up with the steadfast boulder, who stood clearly unmoved by our comings and goings. During a summer of feeling rattled about the state of the world, I found our encounter with the rock to be steadying. After all, it was here long before we were, and it will be here long after we are not. The rock's relative permanence was a reminder of my own impermanence, and that strangely made me feel less afraid. It was a tangible, physical reminder of the fact that we are part of a universe so much larger than us, which continues to form and reform in a continual dance of creative and unexpected movement. Being drawn to that rock in the middle of the road, Dave and I and all the others were somehow returning again to something we perhaps didn't even have a name for. The home of our soul, perhaps? The ground of our being? In being moved to connect with it, to be in its presence, we weren't crazy people at all. In fact, we were, for that moment, perhaps more sane than we usually are. Well, that was one way that we returned again this summer, an unexpected kind of homecoming. And I'd like to tell you about another one, too. This summer, Dave and I attended the 35th reunion of our Ryerson graduating class. I think it was the writer Thomas Moore, author of Care of the Soul, who said that any reunion is a soulful experience, though not always an easy one. At such gatherings, whether they're with classmates or family members, we're invited to reflect on the choices of our past. We see ourselves reflected through the memories of others, and we're reminded how deeply we are intertwined, even though our lives may have taken very unexpected turns. At this particular reunion, I reconnected with a woman who had given me a home when I really needed one. Cynthia, who now lives in Ohio, offered me a couch in an already very crowded apartment when I was kicked out of my room and board situation at Christmas during my first year at Ryerson. With no place to go, I was very tempted to return to Winnipeg and drop out of school, but she gave me a place to stay. It was in some ways an almost chance event, but with the passage of time, I have seen how very important her act of kindness was, allowing me to make a move that gave my life the foundation that it has today. The reunion gave us a chance also to notice that with the passage of time, our various accomplishments mattered a lot less than we thought they would. By this point in life, we were reflecting not so much on our careers, but on life itself, on aging, illness, and death, on meaning and purpose. No one had answers, but it seemed that we were sharing the same questions. And we all were seeking steadiness. which we found for that one evening at least with people who'd known us a long time and who shared with us at least a fragment of our past. Return to who you are, what you are, where you are, born and reborn again. Perhaps like some of you, I have times when I feel very far away from the home of my soul. It stands to reason, living as we do in a society that is focused on superficial things, such as accomplishments, material possessions, and individual differences. Staying focused on these externals, we can lose contact with the bedrock of life, the Tao, the source, the ground of being. We forget how this rock of ages, which some may call God, connects us in mysterious and unexpected ways and supports us through the storms of time. It should be noted that this connection with God and ground is always solid and complete, even when we lose our awareness of it. But when we take the opportunities to return again, however they present themselves, we create a foundation upon which we can stand to do the work that is now needed in the world. When we dare to return again, to come home in this way, each time we may go a little deeper, get a little closer to our deepest longings, our deepest connection, not only with ourselves, but with all people and all living things. For by returning again to the home of our individual soul, we also return to the collective and to whatever we might conceive of as the sacred or the divine. In July of 2018, last summer, Dr. Jem Bendel of the University of Cumbria in the UK wrote an influential and challenging paper on the current state of the planet. In a later essay, he offered advice on how to cope with our changing world, and his number one recommendation was to develop one's spiritual life. To, quote, return to or explore afresh the idea of the divine or the spirit or a consciousness or a God that is prior to the earth and moves through the universe right now, and forevermore. To do so without seeking a simple story of explanation, but with a sense of faith that there is an existence and a meaning beyond our culture, our species, and our planet. Such faith, he says, helps anyone to experience and process the inevitable difficulties and traumas of life. As a minister, I completely support this call to develop a relationship with God or the cosmos, some source of power and meaning that is greater than our limited frame of reference. I too see this as absolutely essential in order to adapt positively to the coming changes in our world. And yet, I'm all too aware that even today, I am prone to bypass my spiritual life in favor of material meaning-making, to skip returning to home base, because I have so many other seemingly important destinations in mind. Today, though, I want to keep my focus on that homing signal, that source of life that I sense in me that is deeper and stronger than my accomplishments, my comfort level, and my stuff. I want to stay connected to that which connects me to all beings, to that which steadies me, takes away my fear, and lifts me up. Like so many of us in our culture, I've been taught to measure meaning through achievements and acquisitions. Yet the earth teaches me that the only thing that matters is collective well-being. I think back to that rock in the middle of the road, patiently waiting for us to get the message. I think back to how we were drawn to that rock, drawn to touch it, compelled to linger perhaps in the presence of the eternal. I think back to how we stopped in the middle of the road we happened to be on to hear a message beyond words, a message connecting all of us, perhaps even an expression of love in its way, a message powerful and steady enough to ground us in the unsteadiest of times so that we might care for the earth and for each other. The contemporary Sufi teacher Llewellyn Vaughan-Lee has this to say: "It is our love for the earth that will help us bring light back into our darkening world. Love links us together in the most mysterious ways, and love can guide our hearts and hands. Love can open us to our deep participation in the life of the whole. It can teach us once again how to listen to life and life's heartbeat, to sense its soul. It can open us to the sacred within all creation and can reconnect us with our primal knowing that the divine is present in everything, in every breath, every stone, every animate and inanimate thing. In the oneness of love, everything is included and everything is sacred." After we met the rock on Bloor Street, Dave and I were reluctant to leave and get on with our day, but of course we did. Meanwhile, I'm told the rock is still there, resting comfortably at Bloor and Major. And the bedrock of connection with something more remains present underneath the current of our individual lives. We can always and everywhere return to the home of our soul. No matter what our circumstances, these moments of returning again and again and again can keep us in touch with the spiritual foundation of our lives. Something as mundane as a class reunion, or as significant as a birth or a death, even something as routine as a meal or a walk, can reveal our inherent interconnection with the all that is and give us strength. My friend Cynthia is now a born-again Christian, and when we spoke at the reunion, she used words like God and Christ to reflect on what happened when she gave me a home. But as the billion-year-old boulder reveals, it's not about the words we use. It's about the presence of and our presence to something so much more than we can understand or name. In the face of this something more, we may experience what's called spiritual humility, not the ability to explain how or why we're moved, but simply the awareness that we are, and gratitude, deep gratitude for that. Our presence to one another, accepting and encouraging, invites each of us to return again to the home of our soul, the home that is unconditionally loving and completely connected to all that is. Spiritual growth is not ultimately some individual pursuit, though in our culture that's what we might mistake it for. Spiritual growth is more of a growing into deeper connection with all beings. We may undertake this growing alone, but always in parallel with others, and we are, I believe, all moving toward the source which contains us. With that, I will close with words from the wisdom teacher Ram Dass. We're all going to the same place, and we're all on a path. Sometimes our paths converge, sometimes they separate, and we can hardly see each other, much less hear each other. But on good days, we're walking the same path close together, and we're walking each other home. It is so good to be on the path with you. Blessings.